I'm Afton Brazzoni, founder of Scribe National. I'm so excited to be here today with Trish Tutton, speaker and corporate wellness consultant based in the beautiful Canadian Rockies. Hi, Trish.
Hey, so glad to be here and connecting.
Yeah, it's fantastic. As part of a new interview series that I'm doing with marketers, communicators, and business owners, I'll be talking to Trish here today about her speaking and corporate wellness consulting business and about how things have shifted in her world recently in light of current events. So, Trish, how are you doing these days?
I'm good. I love that you say how our world has shifted. It's like, yeah, an understatement of the year.
Absolutely.
No, I mean, I am, all things considered, I am doing really well. And I think actually that is what's really important to me right now is maintaining that perspective, right? So as I say, all things considered, considering the people who are really struggling financially, health-wise, so many different ways right now, I have a lot to be grateful for. I mean, I'm definitely kind of leaning into this time to slow down a little bit. I think that that's actually a bit of the message that we're getting right now is maybe it's something that I'm starting to kind of explore, maybe this kind of hustle lifestyle and just work. I mean, it's something I knew before that it can get to be too much, but it's something that I'm getting even more curious about now that we're all kind of being forced to do a lot less.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that plays in really well just sort of to what you offer in general through your business and kind of the philosophies that that I've seen. I've been following you for a while, but can you tell everybody about just a little about yourself and what you offer?
Yeah. So as you said, Afton, I'm a speaker. I've been speaking at, in businesses and companies and also conferences and meetings for about 4 years now. And corporate wellness is definitely what I do. That's kind of the broad stroke. But what I really focus on is at heart, I'm a mindfulness teacher. So by trade, I learned to teach yoga and meditation and have been doing that for about 8 years now, and really started to kind of translate these mindful teachings for people, everyday people who work in offices, because I actually was that person. So I really saw experientially how they blended together really well. So I've been basically, spending the last 4 to 5 years speaking and facilitating trainings, essentially to help employees, to help managers, to help leaders really work happier and to help them understand, and I think we're being shown it even more now, understand that stress is inevitable, right? Before the pandemic, we had stress. Now, we also have stress, different kinds. And after this is all over and whatever our world looks like then, we will still have stress. So it's unavoidable. But here's the good news. That was the bad news. The good news is it's manageable, right? We don't have to let stress dictate our life. So what I get really passionate about is teaching people really simple tools to help them manage their stress, lower their anxiety, be happier. And essentially these practices that put our brain in a more positive state. And when our brain is positive, it functions better. So we're more productive. We work together with people better. We communicate better. We have better creative ideas. Like we just get better ideas. We get more inspired because we're not like just hanging on to like, I got to get through this. I got to figure out, this challenge. So there's tons of research out there about how much better our brain works when it's positive. And so, that's kind of what I do. So I'm finding actually right now, it's interesting. I've started to have some clients reach out and say, okay, I think we need your assistance. Like wellness is really important right now when stress is at an all-time high. So.
Absolutely. And as somebody who's taken both your yoga and meditation classes, I can definitely attest to the value of it. And I think that you're absolutely right that yes, it existed before the pandemic. Obviously, it's amplified now. And then I think, with the uncertainty that's going to come along with how we sort of return to life in a normal state, there will be stress there. So I think, it's always something that people need to be paying attention to. And I'm glad to hear that it sounds like more organizations are realizing that, this is key. Although So what I'm really interested to talk about is I do know that the way you normally deliver all of this, that looks different right now because of
Totally.
all the social distancing and yeah, so can you just talk to me a little bit sort of about how you've shifted things online recently and what that process has been like?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I have to say, Afton, like that first week when kind of everything went down on like the Thursday, Friday, and I remember I was teaching some public classes over the weekend and I was starting to feel hesitant. I was starting to feel like, people are talking about isolating more, that that's what's safe. And anyhow, so I kind of was one of the first, I think one of the first teachers in the Valley to kind of say, I don't feel comfortable teaching my public class. And like everybody, I was overwhelmed. Not only was I feeling like it wasn't necessarily safe to be out in public, but I was just feeling overwhelmed by the gravity of the situation. And so I kind of was like just in a freeze state, like, okay, sit back and see what happens. And then I saw, some other teachers, my teachers who aren't necessarily from the Bow Valley, even providing online support. And I just thought, you know what, this is really needed for folks. Like, I know I need my practices more than ever right now. And as a teacher, I felt like I just needed to be teaching. That is also what helps me feel better. So honestly, I was thinking about this before our call, and I feel like everything about my business, sometimes I just go, okay, how do I do? I've never done this before. How do I do this? I'm going to figure it out. I'd been on Zoom before. I got a paid account on Zoom, looked at what that would look like, thought, I already had a class that I was teaching on Wednesday night that I know people were, I had a lot of regulars. So I thought I'll just do it on that same night and you know what, I'll figure it out. Like, I think right now what's important is that, if you have something to share with people that you think is going to help them, just put it out there and figure it out. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be, imperfect and still have an impact. And luckily, my students were happy enough just to join in. And if there were any little kind of bumps along the road, they didn't even tell me. I don't know. So my internet connection has been good, which we're all like really leaning on right now. So yeah, I started just first running one weekly yoga class and one weekly meditation class. And then I think over the last couple weeks, it was kind of radio silence for the first week or so from some clients. And then as people started to be like, okay, I think we've got our stuff together. People are now at home and working, and the what's next pieces, like we're out of the immediate crisis mode of what do we do? Now we're into this kind of new normal and we need to navigate it. But certainly, I mean, I got to be honest, I had a full spring, probably one of the biggest quarters of my business coming up for in-person events. And of course, like all in-person events, they were canceled. And I think, again, I come back to this piece of perspective, because I could have spent a lot of time, and I spent a little time, but I could have spent a lot of time really like sulking and, feeling bad for myself. But I just tried to reframe and go like, what's the perspective here after letting myself grieve that loss? Because, a lot of us have lost a lot, and a lot worse than just business. So after kind of feeling that loss and letting myself feel it, and then thinking, okay, what's the perspective shift here, and how can I support? So I'm starting to kind of reach out to clients, and they're reaching out to me and looking for more virtual ways of supporting people. And yeah, I've got, to be honest, there's a lot of really cool opportunities coming out of this, and I think that's part of the, when you put your brain in a positive state, can you focus on the good things that are happening? I could be, focusing on all of the things that I lost, but what I'm trying to do is focus on some of these cool opportunities that are coming up as a result of this wild time that we all find ourselves in.
Yeah, wild indeed. And I mean, I think that is a really positive way of looking at it. And I think, from even something like the continuity with keeping the Wednesday yoga class, I think that, all of your audience, people are really looking for just something that kind of reminds them of normality. And
Totally.
I think that even the other business, like you said, I think now that dust has kind of begun to settle, it's going to come back, maybe not exactly the way obviously that it looked before, but organizations, they definitely still need to be able to, cater to the health and well-being of their employees and still need to kind of look at practices that they can implement, whether it's like a virtual mindfulness session or, virtual, I've even been to virtual conferences over the past few weeks. So speaking could kind of always continue there too.
It's very true, and I'm finding the companies that are reaching out, I'm noticing are the more progressive ones. And it reminds me of this quote that Brene Brown has in her book. I don't know if you've read it, her book, Dare to Lead. Have you read that one?
I've read one of her books.
Yeah, she has. They're all awesome. I don't think I've read them all, but the ones that I've read are awesome. But this one's called Dare to Lead, and it's about being vulnerable in leadership. And she talks about, or she has this quote that I'm probably going to butcher, but she essentially says, like, leaders need to tend to the fears and the feelings of their people. And if they don't spend time tending to the fears and the feelings, they're going to spend a heck of a lot more time tending to the lack of productivity that happens, the lack of communication, all the kind of fallout that comes from people who aren't managing themselves. So what I'm seeing is the companies that are reaching out to me are really, they know that. They're like, if we don't help our people manage themselves, they won't be able to manage through this challenge. Like, I think there's so many people talking right now about how do you stay productive from home and how do you stay positive and and it's actually, I don't think that that's the question. I think the question is, how do you manage yourself? How do you manage your own emotions right now, your own mind when it gets carried away, ruminating about what's going to happen in the future, and am I going to have a job, and what if I don't have a job, and then what if that, like, we all know what that's like to do that. So what I love about what I teach is that it just helps people manage themselves. And then when you manage yourself well, guess what? You're a better version of you to your family. You're a better version of you at your work. You're better, like, you know what I mean? The benefits extrapolate out to all those things. So I feel like instead of looking at how can we help our people be more productive at home, it's like the way you help them be more productive is to help them manage their anxiety and, manage themselves. That's really kind of what I call it. It's like it's essentially emotional regulation, right? And we're all feeling a whole range of emotions right now. And if we don't know how to manage that and feel that, we're going to see a ton of challenges crop up with people and workplaces and productivity and creativity and all those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of on that same note, what advice would you kind of give to other business owners who are looking to sort of pivot during this time or sort of define how they can best be of service?
Yeah, I really think that is the question right now, is how can I serve? Lots of companies are struggling financially, and I just think the question becomes, how can I serve? What do I have in my toolbox that's going to help folks through this? Another thing that I think is important right now to keep small businesses running. I mean, there's so many small businesses and we're all at risk right now. I think being as generous as you can with what you have. So acknowledging that in order to keep other businesses afloat, so we need to keep ourselves afloat too. So I know one of the things I immediately did is that I have some online programs. I have 2 online mindfulness programs and in a digital format. And I immediately just was like, how can I serve? This stuff is going to help people. I want to put it out there as like pay as you can or pay what you can. So I basically have continued to promote that. And it's something that I don't think I'm going to stop doing until things get back to whatever the new normal is. But and certainly some people would never be able to do those courses if they couldn't take advantage of them without paying anything. And then other folks are paying full price, and then other people are paying somewhere in between. So maybe looking at your offerings that your business has in that way and being strategic. I mean, I've specifically chosen those digital programs that I've already created. They don't take a lot of effort on my part to run, for pay what you can. I mean, if your business was thriving and you had the capacity to just give of your time and your energy on a pay what you can level, beautiful. But yeah, that's even like one little piece, is look at a small offering you have and think, how can I maybe give this away or give it at a discount for people? And I know I even see some companies doing things like donating a portion of their proceeds. That's always attractive to a buyer, right? It's like, oh, not only can I support them, but they're supporting, this other not-for-profit or charity or whatever emergency fund or something. And I think I've also seen companies doing things like buy one, give one kind of thing. So you purchase one and you can gift something. Like there's an online conference, a kind of a personal development conference, and they were saying that, yeah, you can go on and you can pay for a ticket yourself, and then you could actually pay for one and gift it to somebody, or you buy it and they'll gift one on behalf of.
I love that.
Yeah. So I think, people are just really looking to be involved with businesses who are being generous right now. And it doesn't mean you have to give the whole thing away, but be generous and be sensitive and want to help, I think.
Exactly. Yeah, I think, it's always that balance of, like you said, when we're looking at like small businesses as a whole, they need to keep themselves afloat, but then also that support to others. And I've heard a lot, like just meeting people where they're at, and like you said, some people are going to be able to pay full price for the service as they normally would, some people aren't, and then this is just an opportunity for them to access it, which obviously at a time like this, it is crucial for sure.
Yeah, and I think when we come out on the other side of this, again, I think there's a lot of words we're using around that, like when things get back to normal, and I'm trying to think of it like whatever the new normal is, but people are going to remember those companies and those individuals who stepped up to help. And that you're a marketer, I'm sure maybe even statistics around this of like how, that people are going to remember those folks and those businesses like, wow, they really stepped up and helped. And now that maybe I got another job, or I'm, not temporary laid off, I'm going to put my money toward them. I'm going to, quote unquote, vote with my dollars and support them because they were trying to support people when they really needed it. So yeah, it's a reputation piece too, like show people what your values are and show people what you care about, while also, potentially trying to keep your business afloat too.
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Well, was there anything else that you wanted to share with everybody? I definitely want you to share where people can get in touch with you and access all the great things you have to offer.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I guess maybe I would just direct them to those online digital programs. So if you go to www.trishtutton.com, I've updated the landing page with, links to my online programs that are, and it all says it's pay what you can. So that's all on my website. And then, I'm offering some webinars and things like that to companies at a discounted rate at this point for that employee wellness, to help employees, again, just what I said before, manage themselves so that they can show up to all of these different challenges in this time of uncertainty with a bit more confidence and a bit more ease, instead of it just being a big struggle. So yeah, reach out and would love to chat.
That's so great. Thank you so much, Trish.
Yeah.
And to our viewers, in the weeks to come, you'll be able to find more of these interviews with marketers, communicators, and business owners who are doing great things in their fields over at my website, scribenational.ca. So I'll post both Trish's info online so that you can all access that, and then link back to Scribe as well so that you can find more interviews in days to come. Thanks for watching, everyone.